Welcome back, Matt. Tell me some good news.
Well, I gotta tell you, I think that IXR is really working good.
So you're getting some results now.
Yeah, whereas before we did the upgrades, the basic
Tune-up,
fuel
right?
efficiency tune-up, and wasn't really seeing anything, but better crisp throttle response, just like you said. But I'll tell you, I think that that fuel is lasting a lot longer, and I had my mechanic friend take a look too, and he thinks so too. So, and he was actually saying, "Wow, you got a pretty good deal."
And it didn't hurt performance with the IXRs?
No, not at all.
Didn't increase it?
No, nothing noticeable.
But you're basically seeing better fuel economy with no loss in performance.
Right, better fuel efficiency.
No check engine light.
No check engine light, but we have tried other things in the past, and I don't know, maybe they worked on older vehicles, but the IXR seems to be the thing for 2000 and newer.
So it's working for you.
It's working, yes, it is.
So you came back.
Yeah, I want to know if there's anything else that we should do. It's a 2004. We did the basic tune-up. I think I'm going to keep the vehicle now because I was able to get better fuel efficiency. So it makes it a better vehicle to hold on to, especially now.
Okay. So you're looking. What's the next step?
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Is there anything else that?
For starters, most people don't do maintenance unless the light comes on the dash. You have a four-wheel drive pickup. I'm sure you're doing regular engine changes, engine oil changes, but how about transmission, transfer case, front and rear differential, engine coolant? I'd like to go and just go through and replace all the fluids. The transmission will have a filter. We'll put a new one on while we're in there, and just update all the fluids, including brake fluid.
Probably it's about time. 190,000 miles.
Yeah. And we have a product that we work with called MP Gold. It's part of the MP Genie program. And it's like a lubricity enhancer, if you will. And we can put that in the engine, the transmission, automatic even, the transfer case, front rear differentials, engine coolant. We're not going to put any in the brake fluid though, but we can reduce the friction in all those points with the MP Gold. And I'll have to take a look at your owner's manual. The engine may have come with synthetic oil, but chances are a lot of the other parts came with what they call Dino oil, the petroleum-based oil. And by going from the older petroleum-based to the newer synthetics, you can actually go with a lower viscosity, a thinner oil. If there's less parasitic losses, due because of thick oil. It's like trying to swim through water versus swim through honey. It's a lot thinner. It's easier for the parts to move around. And you'll still get the same protection. It won't cause any failures going to a synthetic. While we have it near doing that, with the miles that we have on, just look it over. With that many miles, chances are you might have one, two, or more parts that are just kind of marginal. They're just about ready to go at any moment. So, spin the wheels, make sure the brakes aren't hanging up. Take a look at the wear on the tires to see if maybe there's an alignment issue, because that's going to hurt fuel economy.
Really?
If you're dragging brakes or, the car's out of alignment and you're trying to plow with tires that aren't both pointing straight. Alignment. It's only a little bit, but at highway speeds, that matters. And while we're under there, we'll take a look at the exhaust system. At 20 years old, chances are there's some rust issues and it may be ready to fall off. Won't know till we look. If we do exhaust, what I want to do is replace all the factory compression beds. That means you're going around a corner and the tool that bends the pipe actually crimps it and causes a restriction. Manual bend is round the whole way around. There's no crimping. And then we would use something like a 409 stainless steel. And that's good for 20 years now. We'll take a look at the exhaust manifold. A lot of times the factory exhaust manifold cracks. You're leaking a little bit of exhaust out, but you don't even hear it in the cabin. But between pulses out, it's sucking air in, which that air with oxygen goes across your oxygen sensor. Computer sees a lean mixture and starts dumping extra fuel to try to richen it back up again. In other words, it's costing you fuel economy. When we replace exhaust manifolds, we like to look and see if there's a long tube, small primary header for that application, because that really boosts the low end torque. So you'll feel it in performance, but it takes less throttle then to maintain speed, which gives you better fuel economy. There's some out there that are street legal. There's some that are for race, off-road only. We'll just have to take a look, see what's available, if indeed you do have a cracked manifold. While we're looking at the exhaust, the new vehicles have like a strap, ground strap that goes from the exhaust to the body. And they usually rust out in 5 to 10 years. So 20 years old, if you ever had one, it's probably long gone. Even if there's nothing wrong with the exhaust, we'll go back and add at least one, probably two ground straps per pipe. So by putting the ground straps on the exhaust, that charge is shorted out to the body and the exhaust flows freer. And rust is an electron transfer process, and by putting those ground straps on, the exhaust actually lasts longer, believe it or not. Along the lines of grounds, a lot of computer issues, dashboard not working right, transmission not shifting right, just weird stuff is caused because the grounding is no longer connected properly.
The exhaust grounds or a different kind of ground?
Well, this would be your electrical system grounds. So right by the battery, on the body, you're going to have grounding wires. There's usually at least 2, if not 3 different points on the vehicle where the factory ran all the grounds. Now this will include sensitive computer signals. So just a dirty ground can distort those signals, and now the computer's working off faulty data, and as you can imagine, it's not working the way it's supposed to with faulty data. So we'll go back and we'll just pull the bolts out, clean off everything, put it back together so we get good clean grounds, and we may even add 1 or 2 depending on what we find.
Sounds good.
So that gets the electrical system back up to par. And then finally, one of the things that wear out over time is the fuel injector. Older vehicles, the fuel injector just had one hole for all of the fuel to go into that port. More recently, OEMs started playing around with 2-hole, 4-hole, 6-hole. I've seen 12-hole injectors. And the premise is if you have all the fuel that cylinder needs going through one big hole, you're going to get one big blob of fuel, large droplets. They're typically 150 microns. If you have like 12 holes, then all the fuel that goes into that cylinder has to come out in 12 different spots, which is 12 smaller blobs, if you will, 10 to 12 microns. And so if your injectors are showing their age and they're not performing it to what they're supposed to anymore, we can just break out the chart and look at the ratings of your factory injectors and then find some more modern equivalents with multiple hole. That would be an upgrade. Did that to the MP Genie G. And then the last thing is the engine. With 190,000 miles on it, you might have an exhaust valve that's not sealing properly anymore, or something camshaft lobe partially worn. So a compression test and a leak down test would give us a good indicator of the health of the engine. Chances are the truck's in great shape, and it'll give you a peace of mind knowing that we've gone through it and checked all these things. With 190,000 miles on a 20-year-old truck, I'll almost guarantee we'll find something that's not up to perfect standards where it's functioning the way it's supposed to. And the beauty of this is that if you have a bad component and you replace it, there's a cost of repair. So the long tube exhaust header, for example, it might be $350 just for the header. And then you're going to have the exhaust modified because it's no longer dumping up close to the engine because it's long tube. It's now going to be dumping further away, which means so you have a cost factor involved. And if you look at that total cost, maybe $600, you got to save a lot of fuel to get that $600 back. But if you have a cracked manifold and it's going to be $300 for the manifold plus labor, now you're looking at $450, and the difference is maybe $150, $200. That's what you have to get a return on investment for, that $200. And that's reasonable compared to the full 6 or 7 or whatever it is for just taking something off. There's nothing wrong with it, So we try to look at return on investment.
So basically, repair with better parts.
Yeah, you got to do a repair, and you can put regular parts on, and you're going to spend this much. But if you go with parts that will actually give you performance, fuel economy, they're a little bit more, and then your ROI is only that little bit more, not the total cost of the total repair.
Okay, got it.
So that's what we want to focus on next. And believe it or not, you may see a lot of gains in fuel economy depending on what we buy, but if the truck's in great shape, then you have the peace of mind knowing that you don't need to buy a new one.
Wow, that sounds great. Yeah. I like the idea of a return on investment. In fact, that's the whole point, is that I don't need to buy a new vehicle. I can fix up the one I have with relatively low cost and bring up that efficiency. I really appreciate the information. You brought up some things I didn't even think about.
Most of the kind of repairs that we would see, because it seems to be in good shape. So most of the kind of repairs that we would see would fall in that 1 or 2 new truck payment range. So, you make 1 or 2 payments on a truck and then you're back to everything's paid off again.
Sounds good.
Well, I'll tell you what, why don't we get it in, get it up on the lift, and I'll make some phone calls to the parts house and we'll get some synthetic oils coming. I have the MP Gold here, and we'll start there. And while the fluids are draining, spin the tires and check it over.
Sounds
All
good.
right.